it takes time to accept that ये हम सबकी हालत है, that this is our human condition, that we would hope against hope and we would constantly and impractically wait.
See, from a commercial point of view, I think it's a very good name because it keeps on your mouth and you want to share it, like, you want to go for this movie. So pronouncing the name of the flower is a little bit difficult because I know if I've told that name to my parents, they'll be like, ये कौन सी movie है, कैसी cult movie दिखा रहा है.
It's like she's like क्या हुआ क्या ये सब, and Dan is like मैंने थोड़ी गिराया. But she says, तो क्या हुआ, उठा तो सकते थे ना, which is what he does in the movie, right? Shiuli falls and he effectively picks her up. Jump right into the main question, which is, let's start with the title itself. What do you think about the choice of keeping October as the title of the movie? Does it seem like a lazy title, lazy job, or does it fit somehow? Also, would you give it an alternative title? Maybe if you want to answer that question as well. Yeah, Khushi, please go ahead.
I feel obviously why the name October of the movie is kept. October is very well explained in the movie, obviously. But again, even like as the movie starts, we're introduced by the shots of how Delhi becomes in October. And me being from Delhi, seeing the smog and fog and everything combined together in the month of October when the Shera Diwali is on, like pura zoro shor se it's about to happen, preps are going on. You can actually feel from the first shot itself that you're in Delhi, you're in October. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It actually, every single frame screams Delhi in October, and it sets the vibe very well right from the first frame. And also, Shiuli is a great title, obviously. The very flower which resembles the entire plot of the movie. Yeah.
I believe October is a very good title because we see Shiuli, that flower which is being depicted in the entire movie so many times when Shiuli is paralyzed and she smells it, and that's when her first movement starts. So, and the Shiuli Fool is actually the October, November, right before Durga Puja, Diwali, Dashera. That's the time when Shiuli comes into, harvesting. So I believe October was a very good title. And why, again, another point is October is a month which is, right before the storm of festivities. So I believe October is that mild ki we are that calmness before the storm. So calmness before Shuli's accident and all the roller coaster in Dan's life and everything. I believe October justifies the title.
Yeah, not exactly, like not completely based out of the movie, but my personal feeling I had all over these years. What is like, I don't know if anybody else has a specific feeling, but the months between March till probably August will feel really exciting and always active. But from when you start moving towards the next winter side of the month, it feels kind of dull, but it's not like it's not too exciting, but at the same time it feels very calm and but all the things keep happening in the behind, kind of like that. So I kind of had the feeling that October fits well with the entire thing of the movie. I'm not going into the story or something that aspects of the movie, but just as a title, it felt really good after watching the movie.
If something is going on in the back and it's not very active, passively just going and you're just experiencing it. Yeah. Biswai, please go ahead.
In the context of the character of Varun Dhawan, who is Dan, I feel October is kind of a suiting title because of the change, because of the transition which he goes through, and also I wanted to tell the point about the fall thing, but Janvi already covered it, so I won't reiterate it. So yeah, that was my take.
I think Jayant, you want to go?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing. October the name I thought was very lazy when I first watched it, but then I kept rewatching it and I obviously read through the name and all, and then I realized the Shiuli, the flower, is the scientific name of it is night flowering jasmine. So it blossoms in the dawn and it falls in the dusk. So in the film, exactly that happens. Shiuli falls in the dawn, and and the next morning everything changes like in a snap of a second. Everything is changed. But I don't know if you have to see the flower, maybe it should really fall, at least for Shivali as a flower. If you really wanted, if you really want to touch it, feel it, if you really want to, what do I say? If you really want to feel the beauty of the flower in your hands, probably it should fall the next day. It really sounds negative in this connotation, but everything for Dan starts the next day itself. He's oddly, I don't say love, I don't know. The love starts much later, I think. But he's oddly drawn to the situation. The curious kid is obviously very curious about why is the why why the name of him is called in the very last situation of her. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Actually, that was a great thought. Actually, yeah. Arnab, please go ahead, man.
Yeah, I think and I feel that since October, the month of October is quite representative in itself of the autumn season, and this in a way acts like a bridge. Like the monsoons have come to an end. Now like a while later the winters will be coming soon, and the bridge is autumn and the bridge is October, because even geographically speaking, or speaking of how the weather and everything is, it's not very warm, it's not very cold, it's a little sultry at times, it's a little damp, it's a little, there's a touch of cold, there's a touch of warmth, there's everything there in October. If you have to see it in the light of the film, Dan's life is in that bridge during this phase. Dan's life, we can like before this how do I say it? Before this interaction with Shiuli happens with him, or before this particular episode of Shiuli happens to him, there is one Dan, and after this episode happens, there is another Dan. So you have to understand. We have to understand that autumn leads us to winter. So when October ends, there is November and December and January. So there is winter, there is dryness, there is that coldness. But winter will eventually lead us to spring, I think, which Janvi already spoke about. So I think to denote the bridge, and I think probably it had something to do with the Bengali factor as well, because I cannot just simply overlook the fact that the director is Bengali and he has taken a very reference of a flower. He has taken the exact Bengali name of the flower. The flower has different other names in different parts of India. It's called Shefali, it's called Parijat, it's called many other things in different parts of India, but in the Bengali etymology, it's called Shiuli. So I think it has something definitely to do, and Shiuli is predominantly blooms during October. That is the maximum blooming period of Shiuli, because we know that like this particular flower is associated with the season of autumn, the festival of Durga Puja. So I think it was a clever choice, not a lazy one. Definitely, it was a very clever choice. So whether he had any sort of significance in mind was can be a later ask, but he wanted to name it, give it a mystic angle to the name very clearly. So he chose October very conveniently and very intelligently, I would say.
Great hearing from you as always, man.
And Shoojit Sircar has a trend of keeping like really short names, like
Short
Piku,
names, yeah.
Vicky Donor,
Yeah.
Satarudham, like maximum 1 or 2 words. You see all his films, I cannot remember a film which has more than 2 words.
Moving on to Nitin, I think, yeah, you want to go?
Yeah, so first, like I would say that I agree with Sampath on the part, like if you don't want to see from a movie perspective, like from a season. So October is like that, but in the movie, I haven't seen that happiness. And similar goes here. Like for example, we are living in a very like sort of in a balanced situation where we can we can happen to enjoy the festivals. हमारी life में से कुछ बहुत बड़ा dramatic या trauma नहीं आ गया है. So within the movie, I think it was shown clearly. So like अगर वहाँ पे कुछ अच्छा हो रहा होता, then festival would have come up. And again, एक उसमें dialogue भी है. So there's thousands of weddings going on at that. So October is somewhat like a starting season after Navratris. The wedding happens, and so that is also that. And October मेरे को लगता है कहीं ना कहीं अभी we are decoding the creative side of it. So if you see it from a commercial point of view, I think it's a very good name because it keeps on your mouth, and if you want to share it, like do you want to go for this movie? So pronouncing the name of the flower is a bit difficult because I know if I've told that name to my parents, they'll be like, "ये कौन सी movie है? कैसी cult movie दिखा रहा है हमें?" So I think that's a common word for commercializing a movie is a big deal. And one more thing is like if he has or someone has named the movie after the flower, it actually gives you that glimpse. तो आप कहीं ना कहीं पूरी मूवी में ना उस फ्लावर को ढूंढते रहोगे. तो अभी वो एक थोड़ा सा सीक्रेट बना हुआ है. So once you get that ना, you feel about it. Like for example, after the movie you're talking about the flower, but before if it would reveal to you, then you in your head you'll be like, नहीं अभी flower देखने जा रहे हैं, something has a significance to it. But I will not say climax, but in a half later part when the flower got revealed, so it built the connection, like from he picking up the flowers and then he bringing it back, and then the sensation comes back to the girl.
And I think the movie was also marketed pretty well, given that it was a post Pico release. Pico was pretty popular. It was a popular name, Shoojit Sircar.
And it was released in April, so if it was released in October, it would be confusing. But it's released in April, and
April.
So, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, a great hearing from you, man, Nathan. Yes, Rashi, please go ahead.
So amazing answers, everyone. It whoever said that they've liked October as the title, it makes a lot of sense given the explanations that they gave. If I were to change the name, it would be Shiuli, because one, we are seeing the movie from Dan's perspective. So the movie is more about how things are changing is more about the transformation Dan is going through. It's not so much about Shiuli. So this is something that the end of the movie I have thought of, and I have wondered what it would be like had it been from Shiuli's perspective. Imagine the camera here instead of here. Her looking at the Dan boy coming in. Somebody who was not even remotely nice to her up until that point. Her reaction to something like that. Her reaction to Dan going the extra mile. So I think had it been from Shiuli's perspective, also Shiuli fits perfectly. It encapsulates her life perfectly because, correct me if I'm wrong here, Shiuli the flower is the life. It's a very short-lived flower. It's like 15 days or something. But so I remember, so we call it Parijat in Marathi. The house that I grew up in, it had, not the house, but like the neighborhood had a Parijat tree, and I had never noticed it until one day. I was just passing through, it was at night, and I saw it and it was like, wow, this is beautiful, it smells amazing, and it's my favorite flower from now on. Yeah, so it was kind of like transformative. So what I'm trying to say is Shiuli lived a short life. Shiuli the flower lives a short life, but it transforms. It gives a transformation to Dan.
Before we move on to Khushi, I'll just add one more prompt, to keep the discussion going, because we are a little short on time. So with the medical episode entirely shown in the movie, the movie doesn't rely much on melodrama. So what do you think about the treatment of the entire medical drama episode? Does it seem very trivialized, or is it overly sensitive? What is the treatment like? So yeah, I think Khushi.
Yeah, so first of all, I'll just like to add to what Rashi said about the perspective part, where like you said, where Rashi said that if it was like the movies from Dan's perspective, what if it was from Shuli's perspective? But I would like to feel that like in this case there's a parallel between Piku and October, that in both the movies, like the first 20 to half an hour, we are shown like the whole movie just goes by like this. Like you just everything is happening again and again, and for a second you're like, slow down. I'm not able to understand what is happening. Like for Pico also that was happening. She's going to office. She's fighting with her. She's fighting with her dad. She's also fighting with the. She's kind of irritated, and it all happens so fast. Like you're not able to understand why she's so irritated. And then Rana comes in Piku. Then Rana comes in and he kind of shows the frustrations that the audience has with her. And similarly here you see Shuli from like she said Dan's perspective, and I felt in throughout the movie that Dan was like that person who's like who's representing the audience in the movie, basically, I would say, because as and very very apt to men written by women. He's very grumpy and very aloof in in the first, when he knows Shuli, like very apt to men written by women. Be it Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice, be it anybody. So I feel that's very aptly done there. That he seems very aloof, he seems very annoyed, very irritable. But then Dan also ultimately, when he gains interest in what Shuli is and what Shuli was and how is everybody so okay with her not being there, then you realize like Dan is not what he seems. Like there's so many deep layers deep down there that he ultimately comes to care for Shuli, and then we also kind of come to know about Shuli through Dan. So I would say it's not trivialized, but it's somewhere in the middle where you're trying to understand and what exactly the complications are that you're just trying to you're just trying to gauge with how to deal with it and how to help Shuli with it.
I think that was a great answer, Kushi. Anshuman, hey man.
Yeah, so regarding the second prompt about if things are trivialized here or not, I would not say so because I think this has been a trademark quality of the director. I have seen three films by Shoojit Sircar, Piku, Sardar Udham, and October. And I think there is it is in his quality. Like he takes something that we have already seen so many times in films, but he tries to give them a more realistic perspective, like something that something let's like when a person is thinking about writing a story, he will imagine, oh, this might happen, something like this and this happen. But when a person goes through an experience, they become kind of normalized to it, and it becomes kind of silly to them as well. So in that way, we might feel that it is trivial, but when a person goes through that, it becomes like that to them. For example, in Piku, there is always a conversation about stomach issues and health issues, and that is his approach on it. And similarly, in this film, we have a conversation about medical issues, like the people talking about pipe yahan se jata hai, wahan se jata hai. And so that brings you more closer to the experience. You find it more relatable. That is what I feel.
Yeah, man. I think again the same thing that the perspectives of different characters through which the hospital is shown. It's very natural, and it is sort of, and also the fact that every one of us might have had to go to the hospital at some point in our lives. So that definitely adds a little bit of relatability, if not completely. I think Hemant, yeah, do you want to go?
Yes. Yeah. Regarding the hospital scenes, maybe somewhere in the middle of the movie or later part in the interval, I something just stuck to me. That is, I don't know how many of you have watched this movie called Good Will Hunting by Robin Williams. And there was one scene where he sits and he says, like, he says to Mark Damon, like, you don't know how it feels to hold your wife's dying wife's hand for 2 months and just sitting there because the term visiting us doesn't matter to you. That just, when I was first watching the Good Will Hunting movie, I just felt like I could just imagine it, but I was just hoping that some movie could depict it perfectly, and this movie really did that job.
Yeah, man, the Good Will Hunting point was amazing. It just flashed on my head, man. Beautiful scene it was. But yeah, I think I can't think of another movie which has actually shown the process of what he depicted in a couple of lines. I think Shreya, yes, please go ahead.
So hello everybody.
Hey.
Good evening. So this movie is very special for me because मुझे समझ ही नहीं आई for the first time I watched it. And something that just strikes out. I watched the movie bar bar because जब निकली थी I was very young, and at that time I was not. I was just seeing the movie as this stupid boy who's पहली बार जब देखी. But as the movie came to an end, it's like the fragrance of meaning gets into you. बहुत एंड में जाके पूरी मूवी समझ आती है, या डेज आफ्टर यू अंडरस्टैंड what the movie is about, and it takes time for this movie to really hit you. And human beings, and I'll come to the hospital scene in just a second, human beings are capable of enduring so much, and it takes time to accept that ये हम सबकी हालत है, that this is our human condition, that we would hope against hope and we would constantly and impractically wait. With regards to the hospital scene, now I've spent a lot of time in hospitals due to work, and something that always happens in hospitals is a random sense of connection with people. When Dan is trying to enter the hospital, just for a second, somebody offers to deliver his message to Shiuli, and there was a chance of connection, and that you see Dan connecting with another boy who's waiting for his mother to come out of surgery. That's also a momentary but very real form of connection. It's not unreal. It's not fleeting. It's not frivolous. It's very poignant. These connections are there because both those characters in that moment, the child and Dan, both of them were feeling scared, to at least some degree.
Okay, that was a great answer, Shreya. Moving on to Vitthal. Yes.
So the thing is that this movie is really special to me because I have been Dan for like twice in my life. Yeah, so last year, like I was there in the ICU for like more than a month because my grandfather was on ventilator, and I have experienced every single thing which Dan was experiencing when like in the hospital, how like the staff is with the patient, and like everything regarding the past and the everything else. And I would say that everything was to the point. Like hospitals, like what I feel is that like hospitals are not the, like we feel that there is some miracle that going to be happen on in that place, but for them it's like a job, right? So they're just there doing their work, and like they are also hoping for the best, but then they had to deal with that practicality of the life. So like the doctors being okay with the patient and just telling every time that okay, there is little hope, but then we are not really sure and everything. I've really experienced that, and I would say that everything was shown perfectly in the movie.
I'm pretty sure that must have been very tough to share, man. That's like a big thing that you shared here. Yeah, moving on to Prithvi Raj. Yes.
Yeah. Hi. So, first of all, like we were talking about the title of the film also. So I think even there's this song, if you're aware of, like Thair Ja. So even the lyrics of that song like resonate so much with the entire story. Like Saal badla, haal badla tere aane se. And that is what like we were just talking about, right? That how Shivli, comes into Dan's life and how Dan's life just changes. That and talking about your second prompt, I think Shoojit Sarkar has a way of direction in which he's able to capture the essence of life, life itself, like how you and I live life. Like even if you look at Pico, there's not much drama like you see in the, other Bollywood films, right? Like if you talk about Karan Johar's films, there are like larger than life sets and all. But talking about Shujit Sarkar, talking about Piku specifically, you'll see a normal family who's talking about the weirdest of things, like Amitabh Bachchan and his problems and all. And even in this film, October, what I really liked about the hospital part was that it was a perfect balance of, how it was a little dramatic also, and it was more on the realistic side also. Like you can also see how her mom is like a single parent and how she's struggling with keeping up with the job and with the finances also, and how her uncle is like कि नहीं करना चाहिए, she'll be like a vegetable, you're just wasting your money. So that is like how the realist part of that situation. But also when there's a scene in the film where Varun Dhawan, catches that doctor in the basement and he talks about Shiuli's condition. So then he talks about the concept of soul and healing. So I think even a doctor, a medical professional who's so much into science and all, was shown to have some sort of spiritual beliefs or some belief system of his own. So even that is quite real on that part.
Oh man, I was just waiting for someone to bring up that scene where he medically defines the soul.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful scene from a man of science whose basic discipline is science. He's been practicing it, it's his occupation, and the way Shoojit Sircar portrays it, definitely, that was a great take, Prithviraj. Uh, I'll just add one more prompt here because we have a few more hands to go. This one is about the love aspect of it. This month that abstract, the theme of the content that we're consuming is also love. So around that, I wanted to know when do you think Dan exactly starts to fall in love? Because it does happen, right? They both do fall in love with each other. When does Dan start to develop, and why, of all reasons, does Dan start to develop feelings for Shiuli? And again, when does Shiuli as well start to develop feelings for Dan? Or when does that happen? So if you could also add that bit to your answers, I'll continue with Jant.
Coming to the second prompt, being an MBBS student, I see this normally when people are admitted in the casualty, when people are in the ICUs, the people outside the ICU or people who are assisting them or who are attending with them in the casualty do these things. They ask nurse these questions. They ask these doctors these questions. Very basic, very naive, but then it only shows his concern. It only shows their love, probably. So, and about the point where he falls in love, I would like to hear what others are telling, and then probably add my point too.
Okay, fair enough. Yes, Amya, you want to go?
So, firstly, I don't know why I like this movie, but this movie really managed to pull up the strings. So, I think that for this movie to work, uh, he needs see, this is a very different movie in which the relationships are not defined properly, and for that, I think the hospital scenes had to be realistic. It was a choice made by the filmmaker, and they showed some really ugly images, uh, the things they go on for far too long, like the stitching, so like when she initially falls down and when she's admitted to the hospital. Uh, After that, everything from it was very ugly, as it is in normal life. And about hospital, I have another take that uh, hospitals are contrasting to hotels, in which both of them work. And hotels are they represent order. And hospital, on the other hand, contradicting that, they represent chaos because everything is so fast there. So Dan, he is not able to find any, he can't push himself in the hotel sector. But in Dan's journey, in that hospital, it happens in that hospital. He becomes a different person. He tried to become a different person in that hospital, where it is completely opposite of the hotels. He finds his new self there. Uh, so that I felt was very poetic. So yeah, that's my take on things.
Someone also mentioned that Dan is actually a kind of a simpleton. in that sense. And when you see him bring those flowers to her, and she responds, and he gets that kind of a response from her. And so when it's the final day, when the flowers are falling, वो ना बहुत सारे flowers लेके आता है, उसके पिलो पे डाल देता है कि जल्दी से सूंघ लो और फिर से कर लो. That kind of childish excitement that is shown inside Dan, I think it's one of the sweetest moments in the movie. But a great answer, यार, Amya. I think Nitin.
So first of all, मैं थोड़ा negative start करूँगा. I did not like the bit where the whole movie feels like कि कहीं पे भी कुछ improvise नहीं हुआ है. Everything felt so strict to the writing. कि everything is going on with the writing. And the one part which I didn't like is the one जब वो night pass के लिए जाता है. And it happens suddenly. Like after that scene, there's a cut. He's in the hospital. So what happened to that action? Every action is supposed to have the consequence. So if I would have been the director of the movie, I would have changed that part because it felt so abrupt. और वो जो उनकी acting भी थी, the guy who's fighting कि अब मैं आपकी complaint करूँगा, मैं आपकी complaint करूँगा. It did not feel like कि it's something was going to happen. And that way I felt like कि ये चीज दोबारा होनी चाहिए थी या फिर ये part थोड़ा सा match नहीं करता. Second is like, the thing is in writing, when you build up a character, so you have to think around a lot of things. So initially, when the guy, he was like, the Dan taunted the girl, like, because she was the someone who knows it all. जो उन्होंने एक chemical reaction बताया था. And this is what the character shows कि Dan is someone who's naive, he does not understand much और वो चीजें कर देता है. उसके अंदर curiosity नहीं है जानने के लिए. He's just doing this job in order to get his restaurant or whatever dream he's pursuing to develop that. एंड द सेकंड पार्ट इज लाइक अगर आप सोचो एक थर्ड पर्सपेक्टिव से कि अगर दिखाना भी होता डैन कुड हैव अ लव लाइफ अर्लियर इन हिज लाइफ. कोई एक्स गर्लफ्रेंड हो सकती थी या कोई प्यार हो सकता था टू शोकेस कि उसको पता है कि प्यार क्या होता है. And this is where my second point comes in, like he does not know what love is. And love story की अगर बात करें तो it's more of a self questioning thing rather than a love, because affection भी नहीं था. It was a curiosity, it was a question. So for the last line, the girl said, where is dad? And that made him crazy. उसको वो आंसर जानना था कि why is this girl asking for me, like where is it, like where does that come from? Because the character doesn't have a past love story, the character doesn't have anyone so close to him जिससे वो प्यार दिखा रहा है या अफेक्शन दिखा रहा है, वो कर रहा है. तो वो उसका जो डेवलपमेंट होता है अफेक्शन का, वो वहां से आता है. वो एक मेरे को चीज नहीं लगी. सो फॉर माय लव पार्ट,
I think about I do agree with the point that partially agree that it started with his curiosity, but it also fueled into something, some selfless caregiving, which is not romantic in nature, but there's still, you could call it love, maybe different schools of thought. But yeah, great answer, Nitin.
Yeah.
Shreya, yes, please go on.
So, anywhere, whenever, I think the blurb of this movie also described it as a love story. But I feel like society tries to put anything that happens between a man and a woman into this mold of a love story. And with a hero and a heroine falling in love, something like that. But I don't feel like this is a love story in the romantic sense of the term, right? It doesn't seem romantic at all. And somehow it is our societal projection that if कोई किसी के लिए sacrifice कर रहा है तो वो भी एक लड़का किसी लड़की के लिए sacrifice कर रहा है तो वो it should at some level be romantic. There always was love between them. Now, whether that's friendship, whether that is familial love, what it is doesn't matter. The filmmaker doesn't sort of clarify on that. But at the same time, there is love. And he realizes just how strong that love is. And the more she sort of recovers and the more she waxes and wanes, he is able to count more and more strings of love that he has for her. The deeper he's falling, it's not that he's falling in love in a sense of depth, but that he's realizing the depth. So the depth always was, except that we as human beings don't know our own capacity for love, and we only realize it in the face of grief. And there is this very nice scene where he brings the Shiuli flowers and he sort of puts it there. But he is never there to witness either her fall. He is not there to witness anything that any of her signs of improvement. And I feel like there is some kind of guilt attached to it. And every time he realized that he was not there for something, he overstays, he overcompensates. So it's like there is this guilt of absence. And that's the guilt of absence all of us carry whenever there is grief about anything, really. We always think about the time we didn't spend and then try to spend as much time there is.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with everything that you said. Brilliant points added, Shreya. Yes, Kushi, please go ahead.
So for me, I think in this movie, love has been shown between Dan and Shuli in very like different forms, not just romantic. I won't say romantic as such because we didn't get enough time in Shuli's life state also to develop a relationship between them. It always seemed like they were batchmates, and he was very irritable, and they didn't actually talk with each other. But once that curiosity in him like was big, when he gets to know that he was the last person she asked about before she fell off the this thing balcony. I think because of that spark is there. That I want to know what is, why did she call, and that curiosity grows into caring for her, and ultimately that care grows on to him to actually understand so much about something that is very new to him. That is, he also never thought that for somebody whom he doesn't even talk to properly, he could actually feel so much care for. And let's say see, technically they were batchmates, right? And then even like in shows like 13 Reasons and whatnot, even though we're not very close to that batchmate, we still feel bad about that batch. Like, right? We are still curious to know what would have happened, why would this have happened. So we are still somehow in a very weird way connected, but at the same time we don't know the person very well. But we still care about that person, that what would have happened if things would have happened in a different way, would he or she be alive. Similarly, I feel that is where the care is that Dan faces, that what if I was there? What if I was there when she asked where is Dan? Maybe I could have talked her into something and she won't have fallen. Something like that would have happened. So my point is that even though he wasn't like a friend to her, but because being batchmates, you still have that in you, that you want to know about your batchmate, and when something so bad happens, you really want to help the person out as much as possible.
I think that was a great observation, actually. Yes, Anita, please.
Hello, hi everyone. I kept reading, I kept hearing everyone's responses, and they have been so good. Like I just watched the movie yesterday because I've been wanting to see this movie since the longest time, but मैं procrastinate करती गई, and then I saw कि abstract room का ये session है. I was like, yes, I finally have a reason to watch the movie and actually, see what's the movie about. And I really found कि the name itself इतना absurd है. Like, of course, when you see the movie, then you think कि, it's so aptly right. लेकिन name थोड़ा ऐसा बहुत ही weird, finicky name है. You don't really understand कि what you are going to get yourself into. And, when I started the movie, the one character that really stood out to me and I related with a lot, initial phases में, was Dan. Because, Dan feels like a character who's a rebel with some cause, but you just don't know what the cause is. You don't know what he's so frustrated about. He's wiping his shoes on the gay blanket. He's leaving the kid ऐसे carelessly. You don't know exactly क्या चल रहा है उसके दिमाग में, but there's something that's very particularly, troubling him. कुछ तो उसको trouble कर रहा है बहुत ज़्यादा. And I think Shuli has been that character who has made Dan realize कि उसका potential या उसका purpose क्या है in the life. I think अगर शूली वाला इंसिडेंट कभी नहीं हुआ था ना, तो Dan would have never been the kind of person that he is right now. He would have never. वो उसकी लाइफ का वो अनसर्टेनिटी, उसका वो जो फ्रस्ट्रेशन है, उसका वो जो प्रॉब्लम है, वो चलता ही रहता परपेचुअली जब तक उसके साथ ये पर्टिकुलर इंसिडेंट नहीं हुआ था. एंड नथिंग एवर रिमोटली कुड एवर, मतलब कोई और ऐसा इंसिडेंट हो भी नहीं सकता था जो उसको ये रियलाइजेशन पे लेकर आ पाता. About the love wala aspect, I don't think there was, like, the entire central theme of the movie for me was one very small word called hope. ना उसके ऊपर कभी वो कुछ गया ना उसके नीचे गया. The entire movie was simply about hope for me and unconditional hope for the sake of hoping. क्योंकि that's what humans are made for. Humans are just made to hope, even in the dire situations, even in the most frustrating situations. वो जो बेवकूफ जैसे अंकल है जो पूरे टाइम पॉइंट कर रहे थे. See, there's a very contrast between the movie where we see कि ना how both of the sides are very true. You know, there's this one particular scene जहाँ पे ना the one scene that stood out to me जहाँ पे उसकी जो best friend है और supposedly best friend है, तो she's like कि you know भाई डैन हमारी सबकी भी लाइफ है. I know कि वो hospitalized है लेकिन हम लोग भी आगे बढ़ जाते हैं. हम लोग भी अपना करियर है, फैमिली है, डिप्लोमा है, होटल है. तो डैन इसका एकदम पर्टिकुलर उसका रिस्पॉन्स क्या आता है, तो मुझे ये समझ नहीं आ रहा कि तुम लोग को कैसे फर्क नहीं पड़ा, कि तुमको कैसे फर्क नहीं पड़ा और मुझे यहाँ पे बैठ के फर्क पड़ा. एंड एट दैट मोमेंट आई रियलाइज कि हाउ बोथ ऑफ द स्टेटमेंट्स आर ट्रू फ्रॉम देयर ओन पर्सपेक्टिव. कि यू नो उसका नहीं फर्क पड़ना उसकी बेस्ट फ्रेंड का इज ऑल्सो राइट क्योंकि शी हैज हर लाइफ टू लिव ऑन. एंड डैन का फर्क पड़ना इज ऑल्सो राइट बिकॉज ही केयर्स सो मच अबाउट दिस गर्ल जिसका लास्ट थॉट वो थी.
I love how you're gushing over the movie and how passionately you're speaking about it. There's also this one scene na in the movie जिसमें ये Shiuli in the start towards the starting of the movie जब Shiuli room में आती है and the Shiuli flowers are all spread on the floor और Dan सो रहा था. And it's like she's like क्या हुआ क्या ये सब, and Dan is like मैंने थोड़ी गिराया. But she says तो क्या हुआ उठा तो सकते थे ना, which is what he does in the movie, right? Shiuli falls and he effectively picks her up. I think ये भी कुछ एकदम छोटे छोटे सीन्स जो डाले हुए, those are like brilliant additions. But it was great hearing from you, Anita. Yeah, glad to have you on the room. I think Prithvi. Yeah, we're going to go with Prithvi. Yes.
Right. So, talking about the romantic aspect of the film, I think it was definitely like a love story between Dan and Shiuli. Because, see, I read somewhere, I don't think it'll resonate with everyone, but it resonates with me that art and love are two very similar things because both of these are processes of finding yourself in things that you are not, right? So you develop that familiarity, you develop that bonding with someone, and you find pieces of yourself in that person. So, like, and also talking about the film, Shoojit Sircar has like very beautifully shown the strength of love, the power of love. Like, अगर कोई इंसान ICU में भी है, जिसके साथ तुम बात तक नहीं कर सकते हो, उससे भी you can fall in love and you can develop a connection with someone, right? So I feel okay. So talking about the similarities, I think Dan ने शिवली में ये देखा कि even though she was going through such a tragedy, she was trying to she was not giving up. She was trying to get better and better and better, which is very similar to Dan because even Dan was not going through a very great phase. उसकी job में अलग issues आ रहे हैं, हर कोई everyone is trying to pull him down. So इसीलिए when Shivli's uncle was constantly talking about pulling the plug, Dan says this line कि तुम शिवली से क्यों नहीं पूछ लेते, लाइफ तो उसकी है ना, because he knew that she's trying to get better and that is what eventually happens. She recovers from that. So in a way he was trying to protect her from everyone else who was trying to pull her down because he knows how bad it feels to be pulled down.
Yeah, man, I think those are great points. The way he's able to care for her, it's like, yeah, there's a certain kind of caregiving there. Might call it love or not, but definitely it's there. Before we move on to Janvi, I just want to ask you guys, since we've almost approached 12, if there's any closing thoughts that you guys would like to add, you can add it right now because I think we've almost reached the limit, the time basically. So yeah, Janvi, please.
My perspective is a little different from all of yours. पता नहीं है it will make sense or not. But अगर Dan का perspective, I'll start with that to give you context. कि when in the movie also when they show the irritability या फिर ये जो carelessness था, before that we were shown the amount of work he did perfectly in the hotel as well, like चादर रखना, उसके ऊपर कार्ड रखना, फिर वो वेजिटेबल का पैंट्री का कलेक्शन करना और वो सब. एंड आफ्टर दैट when the irritability starts, और जब भी वो काम अधूरा छोड़ता था, he used to leave it to शिवली. Like जब भी किड को छोड़ा था, he saw कि शिवली है रूम के अंदर. When he used to stamp on the towels, he used to do when Shivli used to be around. And जो भी irritability था ना, it was somewhere around where people are, he is trying his best, but people are not able to see him and understand him. तो ही इज इवन ट्राइंग टू रिक्वेस्ट अस्थाना कि मुझे किचन में डाल दो, मैं वो काम मस्त कर दूंगा, या फिर बार पे रख दो, आई नो आई डू गुड, आई एम गुड एट इट. पर नहीं, ही वॉज अंडर एस्टिमेटेड everywhere. मतलब people were not trying to understand him or hear him what he was trying to say. Even जब भी होटल बनाना था तो even ईशानी and Manjit, ईशानी was so, वो she was so focused on her life and her वो level of life कि ये करना है, ये करना है. She was not ready to par with Dan's speed कि हाँ हो जाएगा. And he was so sure, like all of you all said, उसको फोकस था, रिबेल था, कॉज नहीं पता था, सो ही डिडंट हैव अ पर्पस, सो दैट ही हैड नॉट फाउंड येट. बट ही वाज सो श्योर एंड कॉन्फिडेंट इन हिमसेल्फ कि जब भी टाइम आएगा वो कर लेगा. एंड दैट दे हैव शोन इट समवेयर व्हेन ही गोज टू कुल्लू, और वो कर लेता है इतना ही, बहुत तरीके से, एज इफ ही हैड, इट वाज हिज रेस्टोरेंट. तो दैट. एंड फिर ईशानी और मंजीत नॉट गोइंग. सो इससे जो हम बोल रहे हैं ना कि, एंड लाइक वी ऑल, आई अग्री कि बॉलीवुड की वजह से या सोसाइटी की वजह से, बट माई मॉम हैज ऑलवेज ट्राई टू एक्सप्लेन मी कि द अल्टीमेट लव इज, एक तो अनकंडीशनल लव, और दूसरा कि कंपेनियनशिप. सो इट, romantic relationship in between two people is a part. It's definitely important, but it's always going to be a part of love, not the whole thing of love, which we somewhere feel कि वो है तो ही प्यार है करके. So even so, I felt कि cut to that honeymoon period of love, they actually were in true love. कि when things get hard, people tend to leave. It is so easy to give up कि नहीं यार मेरे से नहीं होगा. The hospital part was also so difficult कि even only he stuck around. And the people, like from Shirley's point of view, it would be so grateful for her as well कि it's getting so difficult. शायद she also realized कि अगर मैं होती तो भी मैं इतना नहीं कर पाती. And who is he to me? We don't have anything. Why is he staying? शायद उसके दिमाग में भी आया रहेगा. That is when she also grew to getting attached to him, right? So that is how I saw the whole, their relationship as actually true love between them.
I think that is a like all-encompassing summary of the movie. That was a beautiful summary, I think. Yes, Anshuman, please.
इतना सब लोगों ने इतनी अच्छी अच्छी पॉइंट्स बोले that somewhere I also forgot most of what I had to say. But even though I would say I would take off from this point, like it is seen by the end of the movie, like the people who did not care much about Dan, when they saw that he's actually paying so much attention to her and he's caring so much about her, they also started looking out for him. His senior Asthana, his friends also, even though his friend Manjeet had kicked him out, but when he came back, he also helped him. He also gave him the place to stay. And when she passed away, they allowed him to come back to the hotel and complete his training. So there was something special there that they knew, okay, this guy is doing something special. And even though we know that something happens in people's life, but the kind of attention that care he is providing, we should do something for him. He is sacrificing in some way his own life for her sake, so we should do something for him. So there was some special connection in between those two people that was evident from that. And I think in my life, I have found very difficult to approach love, to define love. What I think and speak about is relationships. And people work on relationship. Love is something that happens, that is there. And you cannot control it, you cannot change it, but you can work on the relationship. And the first thing that anybody has to make sure in a relationship is to be there for the other person. And this movie shows that so beautifully. Dan is there for her in some way. Yeah, in some crucial moments he isn't there for her, but that was not because of his own choice, but He was there for her when she needed her. When everybody had decided to become practical in their own lives and focus on their own careers, he was there for her, and he eventually sacrificed most of what he had built for himself for her.
Yeah, man, those are actually great points. Thanks for adding that bit, Anshuman. I think Arnab, do you want to go?
Yeah. I just wanted to share that as like the summing of thought. Everyone spoke beautifully. Everyone spoke beautifully about the like their feelings. People got really vulnerable. People got really like fuzzy throughout the session. It was a lovely, lovely session. Very well job, well done, Anurag. Kudos to you.
Oh, man, I was looking forward to it. But yeah, we'll definitely, just like Shoojit Sircar's other works, we have had two Piku sessions. We'll definitely have two October sessions. We are fans of Lutera, Piku, and now October as well. Yes, I think Amey has been waiting, right? Yeah.
I just have one no, just one input. I'll not keep Amey waiting. He'll kill me. Like the thing is that I think I did not think it when I was watching Piku. I think Piku was a different tonality altogether. But yes, Sardar Udham and October has a very similar tonality, and that has also got to do with Abhik Mukhopadhyay's cinematography. Because the cinematographer is same, so you see a certain kind of framing, a certain kind of like the how the color palette is affected. So if you watch a very recent work of him, Janeja, which came up in Netflix 2 weeks ago. So the same cinematographer, Abhik Mukherjee. So, and me, why I feel very familiar, because I have grown up watching Abhik Mukherjee's Bengali films, which he has done with Ritu Porno. So I know the frames. I mean, when I see the frame, I know it's his frame. So that coldness, that cinematographer director bonding somehow shows very well in both in October and in Sardar. I think so.
Yes, sir, please.
I just wanted to add one small thing that Shantanu Moitra's music just makes it, it takes it to another level. This session might have been incomplete without his mention. I thought that because he just adds so much with his music, and that theme in the end just breaks you, just completely breaks you.
I wanted to cover music, but there was really short of time. So I could not. But I'm glad you brought it up, man. I think it deserves its own like full 15-20 minutes at least discussion on that. But yeah, that's interesting actually. Coming to Nitin, I think yes.
Yeah, so I have like a conclusory remarks, like not like a sentence or a comment. तो आप सब लोग अगर अपने आप को imagine कर सको actually and you be like कि last part जो हुआ था, okay, so अब हम अगर वो story अगर जाएं तो उसके parents है, she is dead, तो their life continues and all that, but where is Dan? वो तो पेड़ लेके चला गया, so again the loop comes back. Where is Dan? If you want to make a second part, or like if you want to connect with the second universe, now the story comes back. Where is Dan? So this is like the afterthought. Like, because I absolutely love this word called Vakya. This is an episode. So okay, so this is not a journey. आप किसी भी character की कोई journey establish नहीं कर सकते because you don't know the past, you don't know what you've been through. So this is only one episode that you take away within yourself, और वहीं से आप अपने आप को relate करते हो, interpret करते हो. तो अभी सब कैरेक्टर तो इधर उधर आप कर सकते हो कि देयर लाइफ गोज ऑन लाइक दिस लाइक दिस लाइक दिस, बट वेयर इज दैट नाउ? एंड क्या उसको दोबारा प्यार मिला? उसके साथ क्या हुआ? वेयर इज दैट ट्री नाउ? सो आई थिंक दैट इज थॉट इज कीप कमिंग बैक टू मी लाइक कि वेयर इज दैट नाउ? सो या, सो आई थिंक दैट इज माय एंड रिमार्क्स ऑन दिस. या